Welcome back to the live morning show presented by Don Bullock Chevrolet. We are honored again to have with us Vanessa Scaife, Executive Director and founder of the Lighthouse Home. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Time is short. Let's get started.
Yeah.
If we could, let's just go back and give our viewers a very brief overview of what the Lighthouse Home is and what its mission is here in the area.
Okay. So the Lighthouse Home, first of all, I want to thank WHIG for having us.
Our honor, our pleasure and our honor.
Give us a good insight on what the Lighthouse structure is all about. And I also want to thank the Davenport Auto Park.
Yes.
For giving us the Community for Life Award.
I was going to get to that next, yes.
Yeah. So that's really exciting for us. So the Lighthouse Home has been established since 2001. And what it is a structural home that bring in women who are vulnerable of substance misuse. So we get our referrals from local detox centers, institutions, and mainly referrals from family as well.
And that's been the mission. The mission since it started was to address the needs of women who are vulnerable to substance abuse.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Have some of these women been incarcerated? Have they been through the legal system, the penal system, and are coming out?
Yes. A majority of the women that are incarcerated have in place an entry program. And when that entry program is introduced to them in incarceration, the Lighthouse Home shows up as a resource.
Okay.
So we get an individual that comes in, and then she can start her life outside.
Is that the decision of the individual? Can it be a probation officer that requires them to do this? Can the court require them to do this?
Yes, both.
Okay.
All three. Usually on probation, she is mandated to have a place of security in which she can continue her sobriety.
Okay. I'm going to circle back to that, but let's step aside for a moment and congratulate you on the Davenport Auto Park Community Award.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about that, please.
Okay, so the Davenport, after the last 3 years, we have been recognized as a community agent that, of course, help the community get better and heal. So they have chosen us with an award, a funding to help us stay afloat.
Okay.
So that's it.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And that award is both a recognition of what you're doing now, and I also believe a recognition for the time that you've been in the community, the 20 plus years that you have been doing what you've been doing,
Yes.
and have made a difference. Do you have any idea how many women have come through the program over that period of time?
Hundreds.
Yeah.
Most likely around 500 to 600 women over the 23 years, actually.
And think about all the lives that those 500 or 600 women have touched too. So the number of people that have been positively affected is substantially greater than that.
Mm-hmm. And now across the nation because they move out.
Yes.
But mainly in the Edgecombe and Nash County, they remain as residents.
I want to now drill down to more of the individual and the personal side of what the Lighthouse Home does. Can you tell us a little bit about what the actual, I won't say state, but what is going on in Nash and Edgecombe County? What are you seeing trends? Are you seeing trends in both the women that you serve and what the addiction issues are that they're dealing with?
Right. So over the years, the addiction was pretty settled with the opioids or illicit drugs like the cocaine and heroin. Since 2019, the fentanyl has entered into both the twin counties and became a crisis on its own. So a woman was more vulnerable to overdosing and fatalities.
Let's take a step back and make sure that our viewers understand. Let's define an opioid and let's define fentanyl.
Okay.
An opioid is a prescription medication, but I'll let you take it from there.
So the opioid is a prescription medication, of course, prescribed for pain. And then it can be misused by individuals that can cause severe addiction. So that causes a crisis, and which has been in our nation for many years. It's been highlighted as a crisis for the last 10 years. Edgecombe County has a high rate of opioid misusing. Since fentanyl, actually higher the rate and became a crisis on its own.
The
We-
opioid or the fentanyl became?
The fentanyl
yes.
became a crisis on its own because of the fatalities. It's ready, it's available on the streets, and it is extremely deadly. So what happens is, because it's cheaper than the illicit drugs, it becomes more available for the addict to get the high that it's looking for.
And Vanessa, I think it's important for our viewers to know, opioids are prescription medications.
Yes.
They were developed
Right.
and marketed by pharmaceutical
Pharmaceuticals,
companies
yes.
to doctors.
Yes.
Now, I think it's also worth noting to our viewers, there is ample evidence that the pharmaceutical companies knew of the highly addictive nature of the
Absolutely.
opioids that they were marketing aggressively to doctors, done with the Food and Drug Administration's approval. That is one thing. Fentanyl is an illegal substance
It is.
that can be produced inexpensively. I believe I'm correct in saying it can be produced in a home lab if
Yes.
necessary.
If necessary.
But it is produced in mass quantities outside the United States and brought illegally into the United States. So we're talking about two different types of drugs here. The fentanyl is extremely dangerous,
Yes.
and with a very small amount of fentanyl can be deadly to someone.
Yes.
Do you have any information on just how deadly a small amount can be, or what it takes?
First, there's two types of fentanyl. One is pharmaceutical, and the other one is counterfeit, as you were saying. So the counterfeit is more readily on the street, of course, and is used as not a substitute, but it's used in all the illicit drugs just to make it more potent. So what happens with fentanyl is that it suppresses the respiratory system, and which makes it very deadly because the usage is hard to manage. Just a little, like you said, a pin. A head of a pin. The head of a pin can start off the euphoric feeling, and then the obsession to use, which is uncontrollable by then, is that the addict would overdose over that, and at the same time suppressing the respiratory system as well.
Morphine does the same thing as a pain, an analgesic,
Yes.
but it depresses
Yes.
the respiratory and the central
Now,
nervous
fentanyl is
system.
also FDA approved, so it's can
Yes,
be used.
you're right.
And so it can be used in hospitals and institutions, but then of course it can have that the counterfeit chemistries.
Thank you for that. Let's drill down even further. Let's go to the individual person. A viewer is watching today who recognizes that there is a problem across the country and here in National Edgecombe County. What are some of the things that an individual person who says, I don't know if it's a family member, I don't know if it's a friend, I don't know if it's a casual acquaintance or someone out there, what are some of the things that you would suggest that steps they might take to both be aware and, if need be able to step in and intervene if they suspect or see something happening from an overdose standpoint?
So across the counties, we are looking at harm reduction. So it's coming from the sheriff department, the hospitals, that we are approaching this crisis with some avenues to keep that individual from harming themselves even more. So reducing the amount of fatalities is taking accountability, as each citizen should.
Okay.
So when that happens, you want to be resourceful. And you also want to maybe identify with the addict, become a peer supporter. Certified peer supporter is a title.
What exactly is that?
So a certified peer supporter is an individual who has mental illness or experienced mental illness or substance misuse that's willing to go that extra mile and help another individual to gain some hope, find some resources, and become more inspired about being clean.
someone who can say, I've
I've
walked
been
a
to-
mile in your shoes.
Exactly.
I can relate to some
Absolutely.
of, if not all of what you're going through. Let me show you a path through
By
this. Is that it?
Absolutely, by using her or his story as a tool. And it works on a high level. Most people would be more involved with another person if they had that kind of peer support, kind of companionship.
For the individual who has not suffered addiction themselves, what are some of the steps and some of the avenues that they can pursue to take an active part in this?
Okay, so one of the things now, the biggest problem now that we're having is the stigma that faces fentanyl and how to approach people. So it's still, we have that same, it's not in my family, it's not in my neighborhood, but it is a crisis. We hear about it all the time. So a family member can find some resources and take on the responsibility of not just helping a family member, but just going into your everyday life to work or any kind of store. You never know who's under the influence. So the government has made a wonderful attribution by giving out Narcan.
Yes.
Narcan is a nasal inhalant that I keep readily at the Lighthouse, and I also train the girls how to use it. I've used it many a times, and I am also willing to do harm reduction by just talking about it wherever I go.
Am I correct that Narcan now is becoming more readily accessible in a number of
Yes.
places? Law enforcement will
Law
have
enforcement,
it,
health-
hospitals will have it, pharmacies have it.
Yes.
Fire stations, places like that.
Yes,
So
that's
if
very-
someone suspects that someone is overdosing, there are places, public places like that they can
They
go
can
to
get-
try and get Narcan for the
Right.
individual.
And I encourage them to do it before that can happen. Always keep it in person. We're so used to having the CPR classes from Red Cross, but today, because it is a crisis and a deadly crisis where it's life or death right there, that it should be on the person, either in your car or pocketbook. Yeah.
Training to learn how to use it is readily accessible.
Yes, it's a small device and easy to open, and it's just an injection in the nose, inserted in the nasal, and then a squirt. We also have a intermuscular injection, so that can be injected into the upper thigh or the upper arm.
Are you seeing any other trend? First of all, I don't want to make this question sound obvious, but I want to make sure that we get to it. Demand for your services over the years since you and I have spoken, has it stayed the same? Has it gone up? What are you seeing with that?
It has gone up. It increased the stay in the Lighthouse because of COVID. Along with that, because of fentanyl, it stabilized for at least 3 years.
Okay.
And I can tell you, because of the high rate of unemployment at some of these mental health agencies, that because of COVID, the person was left alone. There was a lot of delays through the court system and emergency contacts with mental health, so they had to stay where they are. So their residence was longer. It was extended because they had nowhere to go. And
Vanessa, what I'm about to say is something that longtime viewers know we have talked about on this program for a long time, but that is that over the last 4 or 5 decades, we as a society have systematically dismantled the support system, the treatment system, and the overall services available for anyone going through dependency of any kind of addiction of any kind. It is not surprising to me that demand has gone up for your services, because there is more demand than there is need, than there is the services available for them. A lot of the problems that we see from a society, in my opinion, would be solved if we were to turn around and as a society say we're going to try to build back just part of what we have dismantled over that period of time. Not incomplete. We should build it back completely and do more, but build it back. We would solve a number of the issues that we're dealing with right now.
Absolutely.
From if anything that you have said has touched one of our viewers, where they say, I think I know someone, or I suspect, or I do know someone, or more importantly, I just want to I want to be prepared, I want to be involved, I want to make a difference in the lives of my fellow citizens and fellow man because of what may happen to them. How can the Lighthouse Home help them do that? What are there volunteer opportunities? Are there education opportunities? What's available?
What's available is the resources already that are in place in the community. Find out what is connected to mental health and how it affects the Lighthouse Home. Try to understand what that person needs in order to stay afloat, which is shelter,
Yes.
and how the process is for that individual to maintain her sobriety. Each person who is affected by the crisis don't necessarily have to be an addict.
Very
So
true.
we have a lot of parents and siblings that are devastated way before, or if that's the case of a fatality, just to know that a neighbor can be unmanageable, a coworker can be unmanageable, and to bring that to a normal state is that we all need to be resourceful. Things change all the time, so resources that was in place months ago has changed, you know,
Yes.
and so we need to be updated on a lot.
I think the realization that it is here. Every ill that we see that you think might be located only in the large cities or even in Raleigh, it's here in National Edgecombe
It
County,
is.
and it is taking a toll both on the ability of people to live and the lives of people that are around us.
Right. And the chief examiner of North Carolina reported 4,000 deaths in last year.
That's what they know.
Yeah, that's what they know.
That's what they
And
know,
it
yes.
changes all the time.
Yeah.
So this is just a number that changes all the time. And the emergency room is another area where it filters overdose
Yes.
and addicts.
Into the police department.
Into the police
We use the police department as a de
Yes.
facto treatment center for which
Yes.
they're not funded for. Anyway, I would go a long way with this. As we wrap up, because time goes so quickly, if there is one thing that you would like to leave our viewers with, one message, what would that be?
Accountability. Accountability. We are in a crisis of fatalities, and that we all need to take a response that is going to save a life. Always prepare yourself to save lives by making sure that you are knowledgeable on how to approach a person who may be having a psychotic episode or under the influence.
We are our brother's keeper.
We are a brother's keeper.
Vanessa, thanks very much. Your website is?
TheLighthouseHome.com, and we have Shirley McAvoy as our treasurer and a community developer that is wonderful in resourcing our home.
Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for the difference that you're making in not only people's lives, but in their families' lives and in the community as well, too. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having us.
Our honor, our pleasure. Congratulations on the award as well,
Oh, yeah,
too.
we are funded and we are ready.
This has been Vanessa Scaife with the Lighthouse Home. She's the executive director and the founder of the home. So we're talking to the person that actually got this up and running. We're going to step aside now for these commercial messages, and when we come back, we'll have our last look at weather, and then we'll wrap things up. You're watching the live morning show presented by Don Bullock Chevrolet, and we'll be right back.